folder. And create a new folder, and naming files will be on pages 14, 15, and 16. Okay. Well, if you saved it, then naturally you're going to need to retrieve it at another date. So for this step, and I am now referring to pages 15 and 16, you can click on the File tab, choose Open. You can also use the shortcut key of Control O to open a file. You'll get a list of recent documents. So for example, if these are your documents well organized, here's your student data, lesson 1, you can go to that folder, and in that folder you'll see the document. So here's our address bar, here's our navigation pane. Notice how the folders are represented by yellow folders, files are represented by icons depicting the application to which they're associated, and in this case it's Word. When you're looking within this environment, here's your address bar. You've got your back button, your forward button, your search box, your organize, your folder, which you can create new folders, and also changing the view. Often I'll change the view to display my files in order by date or perhaps by type, simply because it makes it easier to see. So here's an example. I can view the list, I can view details. In your document on any particular time, you're going to have what are called formatting characters. On page 18, it's going to be talking about entering format characters and understanding what those format characters are. For example, a tab, a space, a non-breaking space, which is used with a Control-Shift space bar, a paragraph mark. A non-breaking space is, for example, let's say I want a space between my first name and last name, but I always want those to appear together. I don't want it to break on the end of a line, then that would be a non-breaking space. A hard return is a paragraph mark, which is enter. A what we call a soft break is shift enter. That's when I want to force a break on a line but not create a new paragraph. So these are represented, spaces are by dots, tabs will appear as arrows, paragraphs will be paragraph signs, non-breaking or line break characters will be my let me go back here, will be my shift arrow, and then my non-breaking spaces will be the superscript degree mark. And how I create those: simple tab, spacebar, control shift spacebar for the non-breaking space, enter for a paragraph, and then the soft break is a shift enter. This is an example of what they look like on a document, and you can see your own example on page 19. On pages 20 and 21, it'll talk about moving through a document, and it's so important that you understand this. There are very quick ways to work through a document. So for example, home will take you to the very left of a line. End will take you to the right of a line. Control end will take you to the end of a document, which if you have a 55 page document and you need to get there quickly, Control end is the way to go. Or if you're on page 55 and you want to quickly get to page 1, Control home. So on page 21, you're going to see on table 1-5 navigation through a document. In addition to that, we've got the ability where you can scroll up, scroll down, scroll left, scroll right. The horizontal would be left to right, vertical would be up and down. And you also have arrows down here that will give you the previous page, the next page. You can even browse by bookmarks or find. For right now, we're just going to leave that as the previous and next being your option is great. These are your scroll boxes. This is your scroll left, scroll right, scroll up, scroll down. On page 23, it'll also talk about scrolling through a document, the one line up, one line down, and that's going to be a helpful table for you. When it comes to having a document and selecting text, you want to be very comfortable with that. So we can click and drag to select text. We could select text that appears. It's going to be highlighted when you select it. we must select it in order to format it, manipulate it. We could select a character, a word, a line, a phrase, a paragraph, or the entire document. You can select adjacent, which means lines together, or non-adjacent, which, let's say I wanted this first bullet and I wanted this last bullet. I could use non-adjacent techniques, so we're going to talk about that. For a series of characters, I can click and drag. I can hold down the shift key from one to the other end. I can double click to get a word. I could use control and get a sentence. I could move the pointer to a left and get a line of text or a series of line. I can select an entire area for multiple text. Using that, I could triple click. I could also use the control A to get an entire document. So this guide can be found for you. Also selecting a word, here's an example. So here I've selected a word. I could double click on the word or click and drag. This is a technique of using my arrow to the left where I could click and drag from a start point to an end point. Using the control key, I can select non-adjacent or non-continuous text. And you will find on page 27 a guide to keyboard selection and how to select text. One of the wonderful things is the undo and do command. Undo and redo, or Control Z, allow us to undo. Let's say we inadvertently deleted text or we formatted something that we didn't want to format. We could simply undo or redo. These are both located in your quick access toolbar, and they're helpful. You can repeat a command or duplicate. That would be only repeating your last action. The keyboard command for doing that is Control Y, or your function keys across the top, F4. Times that I use F4 or Control Y or to repeat my action, let's say I formatted something just specifically, or I just made it bold and I want to quickly do that to multiple words. I will simply find each one of those words and hit F4. We can also do that using the format painter, which you'll learn about in later lessons. Once again, using the save command, save as names it, save keeps our changes. You will also learn in this chapter how to print a document. For our class, you don't need to print anything. What I will say about this, because you're turning everything in electronically, what I will say about this is make sure you preview before you print, just to save paper and frustration. The last objective is closing a document and exiting Word. Now, you can use the auto recovery feature to automatically save an open document every 10 minutes, 5 minutes. You can use those settings. The auto recover feature is designed to save a document in case the power goes out. It's not to be your primary source of saving. So use auto recover as needed, but nothing beats you physically saving. In your Word options, this is where you can go to your auto saving settings and how many minutes to do that. So this is an example of that window and how to set those settings. The book will walk you through that, I believe, on page 30 or 31. 31. There's also popular properties that you can set in a document to label your document. For example, who's the author, what's the file size, the location, file type. This is very helpful, and I always look at the properties when I grade something because I want to know who did it, when it was created, how often, how long did you work on the document. And so this is your properties dialog box, and you're welcome to add anything here. I often put in comments to help another user if I think I'm creating a document that they need to use and there's some piece of information about the document that will be helpful. I use the property windows a lot. When it comes to closing a document, you can use the close button. You can go to File tab, Close, or Control W. You can also use the X command to close the document. Okay. Now, in this case here, this is the Help button, and Help will bring, let's bring that back. Help will get you started on the Help screen where you can actually search by topic or see tutorials. Very helpful office environment, and the tutorials are on multiple subjects, and I really recommend you use this as a reference. Okay, so that is lesson 1, and at the end of lesson 1, go over the summary, make sure it all makes sense to you. Look at the command summary, and then you're going to do the concepts review. Now, remember, the concepts review on page 38, you're going to actually input those answers using D2L. Also refer to D2L on the checklist for the assignments that you'll be working on for support of this chapter. And don't forget to visit SimNet. That's all for Chapter 1.